Breaking new gate.
つまらないのいつか聞けすようにイヤホンの音が出奴らが転ぶ隙狙ってる変勇気かせるわいつだってそうこの世界は 4D 立ち止まったら歩く道路暴走気味とのなされても I don't get 踏み出せ I'm gonna be on my way またいらない道に興味は見当たらないの Just breaking new gate 後悔という陰謀のものでかいくぐってこの上ない快感はスリルとともに生き続けて見たくもない光景ばかり視覚に閉じ込め小さな空に声がハトほわ呼び上げるわもがいたってそりゃルーステイに自己暗示しても歩く道路涙じゃ救われないならもうエンジョイ味わえ I'm gonna be on my way 答えのない恐怖は狂気に変えればいい Just breaking new gate 真っ白に消されたページは破り捨てろ覚悟の先へとスリルとともに身を捧げていつだってそうこの世界は 4D 立ち止まったら歩く道路暴走気味とのなされても I don't get 踏み出せ I'm gonna be on my way またいらない道に興味は見当たらないの Just breaking new gate 後悔という陰謀のものでかいくぐってこの上ない快感が私を走らせる覚悟の先へとスリルとともに身を捧げて
That was awesome. I gotta say that was pretty cool. Like the ladies from Bandmate, who I discovered a few years ago, are pretty awesome. Like talent wise, they're really, one of the best sort of Japanese bands out there. And quality wise, rhythm, music, everything, I think they seem to be really awesome. Andrade, Luis, your mic's off.
Yeah.
And I just thought you were like just listening in.
Yeah, and
sorry, you were saying?
Oh no, I just ended up muting it again. I just forgot. So yeah,
That's all right. I mean, yeah, I usually
yeah,
mute mine while the music's on, but I was like, oh, this is cool, like just chill out to it. One thing
yeah.
I like this sorry, this lady here, and I put her in a comic book, one of our comic books, with Campbellton as one of the band members in the fictional group. Excuse me, this one here. I think it's that one, or was it the other lady? Yeah, I think it's this one here, this lady here. Yeah, this girl, this lady here. I put her into a comic book because I just loved this band. I thought it was pretty cool, and it was great to have this, kind of like put her into a fictional world as one of the, bass players or from one of the bands in the sort of like the one of the main characters in the comic
What's
book,
the name?
sub character, whatever. But yeah, how are you doing, man? We haven't talked face to face for a while, but we've been getting kind of every week over Skype and stuff. How you
Yeah,
been?
that's true. It's been a while, and yeah, I'm fine, and I guess I'm being quite busy this last few weeks, like really busy. I mean, yeah. So I mean, I was just so busy today because I wasn't even remember this live stream of ours.
Yeah,
I mean, I almost forgot right now. So yeah, it's. I mean, at least I have some money. That's the upside of it. But yeah, it's been quite a ride for me.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not having much time to practice my English too. So it's basically the same as before. That's
yeah.
really unfortunate because I mean I can understand you like completely, but my pronunciation, my speaking is not really good. So I'm
Well, I mean,
sorry.
the other thing is like, I mean, like it's like sometimes that's why I don't speak Hindi a lot. Is because I can't sort of uh, kind of process what the words mean, because the words mean something else to me and it means something else to the listener. Because, like if I'm talking to my aunties and stuff, they know what I'm saying. But if I'm saying it to some other person that's an Indian and speaks Hindi, they wouldn't have a clue because my aunties, my family's used to me the way I speak broken Hindi, but they aren't. And so that'll get me in a lot of trouble. So I just don't, because for myself, I don't, I just keep sticking to English because I think it's easier for me to process in my brain. But also, I mean, like, when you, but then I live in a English country, right, where people are normal language is English. So that stops me from, I mean, that makes it easy for me to speak English. But like when you're living in Brazil and you've got like different dialects and stuff as well, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, I would say for you it's quite harder because you're talking about Hindi language, and their language is like totally different in structure and everything.
yeah,
So I think for you it's even harder for me because even though in Portuguese it's quite different from English, yeah, I mean it still comes from the same family of
right,
language, like So
yeah,
there's some little bits of similarities here and there, like little small, but it's quite
mm,
easier for me to learn from Portuguese to English than for you for Hindi.
yeah. Hindi's crazy, man. Like I mean, it's got so many dialects itself. But and then you know, you've got Tagalog, you've got like South Indian, and I think they might be the same language actually. But like then you've got like Sri Lankan, and it's all this. They all look the same. Like the people look the same. It might be slightly varying on the skin color, but majority they look the same, and they're of the same root family, right? Indian, right? But they speak freaking totally different ways. Like even in like the difference, like in Hindi and Fiji, is totally different to Hindi in India, right? Where they're like, it gets to a point where like I'm like, what is that language they speak? Because I have no idea. It's like Bollywood is made for people who can understand a universal Hindi language, but if you were speaking that like in India, you wouldn't totally speak their language. It's kind of like this normalized version of a language. And one thing I noticed with you, because you translated, let me just bring that up here. I was going to pop this up here to show that, you translated, our Robot Nation into Portuguese, right? And I could recognize some of the words from the Spanish. They were kind of similar to the Spanish when, with Tomas they being translated the Spanish version, and I could go in there and go, oh, it's kind of similar, and this, and then I'm like, well, this is really different,
Yeah,
and
that's
but
true.
interesting to see the differences and but also see the similarities between the two languages.
Yeah.
How did you like, because you're translating from English to Portuguese? Was this the first time you were doing that?
I mean, like that, yes, it was the first time. I mean, professionally.
Mm,
Um, I mean, maybe I done something like that, like, but like only in a informal way for like for a friend or something like that. But professionally, it's the first time. I to be honest, I think it was a quite a good experience. To do something like that, it's almost like practicing. Like translate something like that, because it's sometimes in some areas it can be quite handful, because you mean that there there I mean, for any language there is like some expressions and slangs that doesn't have a real translation, for
mm,
another language. Like that also happens for English and Portuguese. So like in some, even though I mean, like in English, like that you uh, that the script for follow is not like the American English that I'm more familiar with.
mm,
So that's another thing, because as I said before about the expression, like there's something like that's written of there, like the I can just translate like in a literal way to Portuguese, because it won't make sense.
yeah,
Someone in Portuguese will read that, like be like, what is this? So yeah, sometimes I have to search about this slang, about this expression, to know, like, to deconstruct its meaning, so I can
yeah,
try to search for some some slang or expression in Portuguese that's like equivalent, like the same meaning, that it works the
mm.
same way. So yeah, sometimes can be quite hard, but as I said before, I think it was nice doing that, because it's also learning, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's totally new as well because I've never worked on a different translation of a comic book, right? Or any translation apart from English, like not even in my own language, like native tongue, right? Hindi. And so, like working on a comic book and then, turning that English language into Spanish or Portuguese and not realizing like the words, like something that could be really small in English could be really big, like in Portuguese or Spanish, like some of like just to show here, some of the words were like really large. I mean, when you're looking at something like this, like I don't even know what that means, right? But when what I would be doing was having the English script, having the Portuguese, your translation of it in Portuguese there, and then I'd also have Google Translate on just to make sure that if I was going to, move it around a bit, and I wasn't chopping the sentence too much. And so, what does this say, man?
You mean the first or the
Yeah, this
second?
one here, the Oquid.
Uh, this one means, what do you think happened? It's basically that. So yeah,
Yeah. So
what do you
this has
think
happened,
happened?
right?
Hmm?
This has happened. Aconteceu. Is that what that says?
Yeah, it speaks as o que você acha que aconteceu. That's
Right.
the yeah, that's the
Aconteceu.
phrase. Yeah,
So
yeah,
this has basically happened, right? That word.
yeah. Aconteceu
Yeah.
will be like happened. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's what I was like. It's like, okay, so I'm like, that has to be that word. And I'm like, because the other ones are very small. And so I'm trying to make sure, because when you're lettering, you're trying to make sure that everything fits nicely and roundly in a bubble. And so sometimes I look at my writing, sometimes the sentences are quite long. And so if I need to break it up, like, how do I break it up? And it's easy if I do it in English, but if I'm looking at a translated language, I'm like, I can't break it up too much. So I got to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do without me messing around with it. Otherwise, it'll throw off the reader, like something like this, right? If I'm here, like usually if I'm doing this, it'll be a bit more crunched up and the spacing, like will be like this. But when you've got a longer, when you got like a last word is like this big, you really have to play around with all this other stuff to make it fit better. And so this is kind of, for people who don't letter, they don't really understand that part. But as a letterer, you're like making sure like this, right? You have to make this kind of rounded. And now because, you're putting the words like a big word here, a big word here, and normally when I'm writing it, it's usually I can end with a smaller word somehow. You end with like start with a smaller word and you end with a smaller word, and then have the big words in the middle. And this is a thing about like working, you know, um, with a team, right? And you try and do something a bit more unique and a bit more different for what we're doing as a studio. And like the other thing, like I said, like this is your first time working on it professionally as a translator. Now you have upskilled, right? And this is what I always talk when I was a youth leader. It was all about like, and I don't mean like youth leader, but working as a youth worker with with young kids and older, young adults. It was like, how do I teach them to learn something and now they can hold on to the new thing? And it was the same thing for me. It's like, okay, if I'm going to learn how to direct, I need to teach my assistant how to direct as well. So I'd always have the assistant there, like, okay, this is why we do this, this is why we do that. And I think, and same with Louise, right? When he was doing, I'm sorry, with Tomas, when he's doing the Spanish, it was like, now, no, now Tomas also has a new skill. So he could like later on, if once, finishes work with me, or if he decides to carry on, he can, work on the side for somebody else to do translation, and this is now a new skill that all three of us are like basically learning to be able to go, okay, yeah, I understand how to work with, a Spanish speaker, a Portuguese speaker, and, be able to figure out how to make these comics work. And so how do you like, I mean, for you who's been, working with like NGOs and stuff like that on your other comic book projects, how does it, for you now to have a new skill, how are you, are you able to, what do you think? Are you confident enough to go, hey, I can also translate now? You know, what, how does it, sound? I mean, what do you feel about that? Sorry.
well, that's. I mean, I now that you ask that, I haven't really thought about that like for real. Like, I mean,
Mm,
yeah, I mean, I for like until now, I haven't really thought about working as a translator. It hasn't really crossed my mind. I just did this job for you, like for you guys, and just like,
yeah,
okay, all right, so I'll do that. So now that you ask me, I haven't really thought about that. I mean, maybe, yeah, maybe, yeah,
because well, the
because
thing is, like every time somebody goes to you, go, well, okay, I just need an artist, or something goes, well, I need someone with an artist who can also turn this into some other language. We get, yes, I can translate now, right? And now you've got a little, what we call like in the West, feather in your cap. You got another little feather in your cap, another skill in your, another pen, and you know, and pencil case, right? And another pencil there now that you can work with, and it's like another toolkit, another tool in the kit, right? And for me, I've been trying to do that all the time with myself over the years. Like learn new thing, learn new thing, learn new thing, and by learning new thing, now I know a lot more than I used to do like 20 years ago. Even like freaking 5 years ago, I didn't know much about being running a convention, and yet after having other people involved with me teaching me, I was able to then learn how to run it. And I think this is I think like when it comes to learning, you always can keep learning. You know, new skills are there, and like even working with with manga and stuff, and then working with you on this book, right, on Howler, it's like a whole new thing because what it's doing for me is like I'm having to go and research creatures I've never friggin' even thought about existing in some other country. We were looking at something in Indonesia. It's like I've never even heard of that creature. And here now we're going to work on that. Now we're drawing that. You're drawing that, and I'm kind of writing the story about that. So, what is it like working on some sort of like these things that even like I said, I haven't heard of them. You haven't even heard of them, right?
I really like doing that. I mean, I like to discover, like to know these new things. Mostly, even more, it's like those mythological beings and etc. Because, like, I also, I mean, to be honest, I also quite interested like this. Uh, I don't know what to say, but like this mythical
Mythology. Yeah.
mythology, also uh, esoteric knowledge. Like this secret occult knowledge. So like I have some interest in this kind of thing. So I like doing that. Like just like this new creature that I never heard of before. Like I think it's pretty fun. That's one of the reasons why I like this project, because I quite like this. Yeah, this one too. I remember this one from the files. So yeah,
Yeah.
I remember also when you asked me for some suggestions too, that you're open about adding some new creatures. I still will some looking into some of it. Like later, I may send you. I know
Awesome.
some ones that I found around. So yeah, I think it's quite fun. That's something I had to ask before, like going further the other topics. I mean, I like about the translation.
Yeah.
And did you have any problem with the text there about the I don't remember how to say in English, but you noticed that in Portuguese some words have some things above it. I don't remember the name in English. No,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't find too much, too many issues with it because what I was going to do is like once I've, got everything sorted, I was going to like, turn it into a PDF and send it back to you and go, hey, can you read this and go through and see if I've made any mistakes? Not that you made a mistake, but if I've made any mistakes in moving things around, or because because sometimes, I might have like deleted it accidentally because you're typing away and you're editing, you're lettering, and sometimes words can be like can mistakenly be deleted. And so that's what I'm going to do with Tomas as well with the Spanish. Once this week basically, like when I finalize everything, just go, hey, here's have a look at this, read through it. Excuse me, does it all read well? And if there's
yeah,
any changes, now's the time to do the final changes, because until it's like everything's corrected, I can't when it doesn't go to print, and so I always get a reviews on reviews of it, and so you'll be getting a PDF copy to say sign off
yeah,
on this, make sure everything's the way it should be, and there's no mistakes on my part on it.
yeah.
So
That's fine.
yeah, I think
Uh, yeah, I ask that because I think it's Essen, the name, right? For this, what I'm talking about, accent, because
yeah,
sometimes in not only Portuguese but also Spanish, you will probably notice that Spanish also has these accents, because
yeah,
sometimes when you pick a wrong font, to use for the text. Sometimes this font does not come with accents.
Oh, I
So
see what you mean. So
yeah, that's how
yeah,
that's
so
what
that,
I'm
that
talking
was
about.
fine. The font that I was using was fine. It just came up. And so like you can see
Uh,
here, let me just bring this up. So I didn't realize that's what you meant. So
yeah, yeah,
let me
that's
show
what I'm
you.
talking about because I had
Yeah,
this issue with the
the
pencil.
little triangles, right? And little
Yeah,
squiggles on top, like this.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean that was fine. I was looking at it, I was saying, okay, well that's that's doing its thing. And so even like under here, like stuff like this, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so this was
Yeah,
yeah,
that can be quite
and
helpful, like because of the space. Yeah,
yeah, and so all this sort of stuff, I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, I mean, I've seen it, and that's the thing, right? I have seen this in text, and so I knew what it was that this is part of it. That whatever this is meant to do, it's supposed to be there. And so the font that I use, right, which is like, let me find it. It it's called Comics Crazy, right? It's like I got these years ago, like maybe 20 years ago. And so it's been part of part of my font file for my comics thing. So CC Comic Crazy Italian, right? And you can also do like the Roman and so on as well, but it'll this is a good one because it has this. And if I was using some other font, it would not have that, right? And so that could
yeah,
be like wouldn't really deliver what needs to be delivering.
yeah. That's right.
Now I was gonna here we go, Howler, right? So this is some of the work, we're about I think are we halfway through the first issue? Because we planned out like two issues at the same time. So, you know, I was last night I was like, have I got all the ink pages that we've finished so far? And as you guys can see here, if I can pop this off, to the side, you guys can see, some awesome work that Louise has been doing on this book. And let me just get to the right start. And I really, really love the character designs on these because this is like a really real, kind of like a real world thing that we're trying to create, like real human looking characters, not some sort of like jacked up, superhero type characters. So because it's like real world characters, they have to look natural, they have to look realistic. And that's what I love about this book. This is a it's about monsters from our mythology in our real world. Like each people, each tribe has and each race has their own little boogeyman, right, or their own little creatures. And especially with the Japanese, they have the yokai, right? Which, if you're an anime fan or a manga fan, that's the thing, right? All these things. But the other thing is that other other um, other races and also have it. Some tribal people have their own little monsters and stuff, and part of their mythology, and so this is what this Howler comic book is about. It's about that sort of thing, bringing that sort of into a fantastic, kind of like a fantasy story, right? Like a comic book story, talking about this mother and son in this world, and they're on the kind of on the run, and so. Hey, Nathaniel, welcome, man. Thank you for joining us. So, yeah, Louise, meet Nathaniel, a great online friend of ours and follower and
I
supporter.
think I
And
remember you. I think I
yeah,
remember you.
so with this book, I just like I love, like I say, I love working with our artists because each one of them brings something amazing to what we're doing, right? With these with each comic book, and each one has its own purpose as a story, as an art form. So when I look at like the tortoise with Tomas, I'm going, go manga, go harder, just make this into your thing, And then when I, with you, make it into your own thing, because these these people, as we, as the these characters, as we advance on the story, they become their own little world and their own character. So, this is a story about a totally different to what we're doing. And the other thing, it's a story about a mum and son, right? And I haven't done that before. Usually it's been about like father and son or family or something. And so the point, trying to write a story where it's about a mother and son and their relationship as they, are trying to survive in a world full of these creatures and whoever, and a mysterious group called the Conclave who are hunting them, basically. You know, and I just love like your inking on this, man. So do you want to talk about yourself, about how long you've been working on comics and stuff with people who haven't seen you
You
before?
mean you mean like how I work or just about
Oh,
my
how your history, and then we'll go into how you work.
yes. Well, I mean professionally I've been working as an artist for like 2 years. I think. Yeah, I'm quite new yet. So yeah.
Mm,
So I mean it's been a really crazy ride. I mean I first started like from my art school here from Mercy. Mercy is also still operational here in my city. So it's
mm,
sometimes here and there. I sometimes go visit there because I'm still friends with the teachers. So
mm,
yeah, so it all began in my art school. There like make a they made a introduction for me about this world, about comics
yeah.
and everything. I mean, since as a child, I already like really loved drawing, but I thought that it wasn't getting me anywhere. So I for years and years I just didn't really invested into it until before this art school. And, and then I mean after that like taking my art lessons I just left my old work and then just started doing what I do right now.
Mm,
It's for now it's getting I mean yeah it's fine. I mean I to be honest at the beginning I was quite worried because I didn't know if it was going to be if I was going to be successful because it's something new. I was going to work like for myself as a freelancer. I still do.
yeah.
So yeah, and that started. I was a bit worried, but but until now it's doing fine. I just surviving myself. So yeah, for now I really enjoy. I mean, for now I don't regret doing this decision because my earlier job that I had before, like I didn't really like them, like working in the office and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't I didn't like the experiences like in as a office guy. Yeah, so I'm really yeah I would say I'm happy now for my I mean but enough about this personal things oh well about my work. Yeah, I have some many inspirations like about artists. I mean, the first one is my own brother because he's my
Yeah.
brother. Oh, sorry, microphone. And and then there's
Uh,
it's quite a bummer. Yeah,
yeah. Is the
I
mic
hope,
fall off?
yeah, it just fell. So yeah, and then there was also my teacher, Clayton. He's
Yeah.
also a working artist in comics and stuff. He's really good. So there, these two are my first inspiration. But after that, there's also the other ones that I met, that I discovered, like Sean Murphy. I really like Sean Murphy. That's really cool. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah. I think you're talking about the DC artist, right? Let me just
Yeah.
grab something to show the folks here, like if it's close by. Uh, yeah, I was thinking like it's Remender. No, it's yeah. So Sean Murphy, this is one of his works that I've got. So let me just pop that off there. So Tokyo Ghost and stuff like that. I mean, this is a good person to be inspired by, right? To be, to look to and go, oh yeah, this is what I want to work with. And so I mean, like some of the stuff, like his style is like very, in a sense, like just like the ink style is like Japanese calligraphy, right? Their art, and it's kind of he has a unique inking and pencil work that is straight away that's him. It's like like Michael Turner, right? Or it's like excuse me, um, what's his name? The guy from Hellboy, right? And
Ah,
and
I know.
Mike Mignola and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so also like Frank Miller, uniquely their style. And that's what I'm like. I think like for me as a writer, I'm like I have a unique style, like auteur, like with like directors they call them the auteur. And so as a writer, I have a unique style. Hopefully that will show when people read it that this is my style. And same with you, right? When you go do your artwork, people will see, hey, that's Louise's work. I can tell it's Louise's work. And I think having someone like look, I mean, this is the thing about inspiration, right? Because when you fall in love with somebody's work, whether they're a writer, like I'm more inspired towards writers because I'm a writer, but I also love art and because I'm also an artist. So when I look at other people, I go, how do I get inspired by that? Or I mean, not inspired. Sorry, what can I take from that and learn from that? And I think everybody should do that. And this is something different that AI doesn't have, right? Which is why I love working with artists, actual real artists, because there is inspiration that comes by from other creators for artists. Where in AI there's no inspiration. It's like, oh, that person, that thing. There is no like, why did you get inspired? So why did you get inspired? Did you find that Sean Murphy being an inspiration? What was it about his work that was inspiring to you?
Well, about him specific, I mean, well, first of all, when I met him, it was with Batman, because I even have his Batman work here, the White Knight. I met
Yeah,
him through the work of his. I mean, it
yeah,
just I don't know, man. I just saw the art of it. It was like, whoa, that's beautiful. Like I just fell in love with it. That's just this sort of thing,
mm,
And I really like how he does these really straight lines and strokes and these like dirty ink that I was still trying to develop, because
yeah,
I mean, from now on, my actual phase of my art, I think I still need to work out some more about my inking.
mm,
You know, I want to have this more dirty as aesthetic yet that I don't have yet. I still try to develop that.
yeah,
And I think Sean Murphy would be my like a inspiration for me for this. So yeah, I just it just like strike me like it's, I just found it really beautiful, like the way it does, you know, the ink. I mean, and yeah, and of course they also more inspiration, like not just from comics too, because like one of my major inspirations is also from Jamie Hewlett from Gorillaz. I really love his art.
yeah.
I mean, I also wearing a Gorillaz shirt right now, so yeah, it's also a big inspiration for me, you know. And also, I think there's one more, but I can't remember right now. But there's more.
Sure. So
So, yeah,
then so you're looking at other people's work and then you're doing your own work. So and you've been doing this for 2 years now, right? uh how is it like? I mean, because like you work with other projects as well. What are the difference between working with on this project, this fictional world, compared to the other projects that you're working on? Is that like, I mean, are they are they fictional as well, or are they non-fiction work, for that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a interesting question. I mean, the other one that I have as comics right now, it's quite different from this one. I mean, it's not really fictional. I think. I mean, mostly it isn't fictional. I mean, so the other work I have is for a Jewish NGO. I don't know how much I can talk about it, but I'll
Sure.
try
I mean,
to.
like, you don't have to tell.
Yeah,
Like, I just mean like the work the art side of things, nothing to do with the
yeah,
topic or that.
yeah. I mean, it mostly isn't fictional. They mostly work about real stories for religious stories for the
Yeah.
you know it's more like it's mostly a for child like for I don't remember the right term for that. I
Yeah.
don't really touch it, but
For children's books, right? So it's children's comics.
yeah,
Uh, so I mean, for me, like I come from a religious background, so I've done stories, stage plays, sorry, I should say, for religious, Christian religions and stuff like that. So I understand that. So for me, like talking about this, it's like when you create like when you're working on these projects, are they like the art style? Is it like real art style, like in
yeah,
Howler,
it's
or
quite.
is it more fantasy?
I mean, it's actually quite different. I mean, like for Howler, for example, I use more shadows, like more black. But
Right.
now for these religious comics that I'm doing right now, they're more light, more more lightly made,
Yeah.
in everything, you know,
Well, I
and
mean, for being for kids, right? They would have to be
yeah,
a bit more lighter, right, and a bit more brighter and stuff because you don't
yeah,
want something dark and especially with this one. This is like the horror fantasy, and if you want to do, if you're working on a kids book, you don't want the kids to be kind of like seeing a lot of dark colors in there, because usually, I mean, comic books is a visual medium for good reason for that kids, male boys like, right, especially males like comics, because it's bright, it's exciting, and the colors is what attracts them to it. So I find like when you that's what I was saying, like this is the difference between working for on a kid's book, working for a mature reader book, and then working for an adult, right? Because there's things like, even last night I was thinking about, there's things that I can't put in Zoolandia that I can put in this book, right? I can have people dying in this book all the time, but in Zoolandia I can't, because Zoolandia is a bit more teen friendly, like a PG-13, and I don't want to have like do really heavy stuff in it, theme wise, uh, that I can do in this book. And that's what I mean. Like, so, when, especially, so that's in the writing sense, but in the art sense, like you're saying, like, okay, it's a kid's book. Um, and there's things I can do in that I can't, I can't, that it probably isn't right to do in this one because of visual things, right? Visual narratives you're trying to deliver. Has it been like, you know, as an artist, like working on two different projects at the same time, what has it been like for you for like, trying to switch from doing a kids thing and then coming home, or whatever, and then doing a bit more mature book about,
yeah.
people making out and stuff, and
Yeah,
fighting.
yeah, that's a crazy twist. Yeah, I mean, I mean, when you put it like that, it's like I don't know. You mean like just white and black? It's really different. I mean, even more like about the I mean about this religious comic like is full of quite is full of guidelines and stuff
Yeah,
and rules that I can and can do you
yeah,
know so yeah, like it's really crazy. I mean, I think the only reason that no one mentions it for me around here is because like I just I I just work from my bedroom, so not much people ended up seeing it, so that's fine. But
yeah.
yeah, Like in the morning, I'm doing some really lighthearted story, and then in the night I doing Howler. Yeah, so that's quite a funny way to look at it, and that's also that also can be quite hard to like conciliate these two works because doing comics like page comics like can be really tiring. I mean, if it wasn't just one project each at a
Yeah.
time, I mean, like if I were only working with Howler, it would be much less like it would be better, you know, faster too. Because to be honest, I'm not really happy with with my pacing here for Howler for the progress. I
Yeah.
wish I could be faster. Yeah,
Well,
but
I think for me, like, I mean, like, because we've got other projects going on as well, right, with the other artists, I don't mind you taking time to make these the pages look good, right? Because at the end of this, if you're rushing something and you're like, I need to do this because I got to keep on time, your art can suffer sometimes. Like, and the other thing is this, like, you're working on a project that's actually getting you, sorting out your bills, right? And I don't, for me, I think that's fine, that you're taking your time with this because like I said, there's other projects going on at the same time. But on top of that, it's about working on a project that you're passionate about and you're working on it to make you feel, like, um, like me, like if I'm writing a book, if I don't feel good about writing that comic, right, at that story at that time, I'll move on to something else. I won't, like, I won't push myself so hard on it because it gives me a headache, stresses me out, and I'm like, okay, stop. This is not working. Just move to the next one, and then when you feel okay, go back and work on that one.
yeah,
And and the thing here is, as I mentioned about working on a children's book, you know, the value is the same. There's no lack of like value to what you're doing there compared to what you're doing here because it's all art. And even though you have different bosses, you're still trying to do the best thing, because this is your work that you're putting out into the world. And as I mentioned with my own comic books, I'm the most critical of my own writing, right, of my own work, and I'll be working until I find I'm okay with it. And I think now I can introduce this to the world. But I think one thing you don't want when you're doing art is to be too stressed out over what you're doing, because that tends to affect your quality of your work, and also you stop enjoying what you're doing. And I've had that in my life as well. I was like, I don't freaking enjoy this anymore. Why the hell am I doing this? And the worst time is like when you're halfway in the middle of it, right? When you're in the halfway in the middle of a project, that's when you start stressing. You're going, is this really what I should be doing? Is this what it should be looking like? And that's the hardest time, is when you're halfway into the project or one third in, and then you go, oh, I should have done this and I should have done that. And so I will go in and I go, yeah, but how about I just freaking finish it and then like chuck everything down on the page and then go back later. And that's the thing about editing a story, right? I'll just go shove it in. And sometimes I have a whole chunk of like 2 pages of text and I go, this doesn't fit. So I'll cut it out and I'll take it to another file and I'll paste it there and leave it. And I'll go extra text for later for something other stuff and then go back. Because, you know, if I'm trying to make something out of something that isn't working, man, the stress on me, like mentally, it gets very like tiring and exhausting, and I have to walk away, and I've had to do that quite often, and then now I've come to a pattern where I realize myself, when I see that happening, I go, no, stop, just stop, you know,
yeah,
and now I can do that. Before I'd be like stressing over the hell over it and like really going, why am I not getting anywhere with this thing? You know, and the other thing is like working on something that you enjoy. It makes it helps you do better work than you normally would feel like, because when you're not stressed out, And that's why I don't mind, like, with our teams, like, just work at it, because I know that, like, as an artist myself, as a writer myself, there'll be days where I don't write anything, write nothing
Yeah,
at all, not even one sentence. I'll be just lying in bed watching anime and watching a horror movie or watching YouTube or listening to music, and I'll be writing nothing. And then I'll come back and I'll be writing 10 pages. Boom,
yeah,
it's out.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I try not to distract myself too much because I mean, each person has a way, has a habits, has a way to function. For me, I unfortunately I have quite the habits to be lazy. That's really
Yeah,
bad. It's even bad because I work from home,
yeah,
so working from home, like you just wake up and you can already start working, but at the same time, anytime you can take a break.
yeah,
You're at home, so you have all the comfort from your house. So it's sometimes it's quite hard to separate those two things, like
yeah.
from work and just relaxing at home. So yeah, it's sometimes quite a problem for me. And
I'm kind of the opposite, right? Because, like, I just wake up and I turn on, everything's in front of me, because the screen's right in front of me at my foot, right, of my bed. And so I'll just turn it on, and I'll go, okay. And then I'll start working, and then I'll find, like, I got to go get a coffee now. Oh, I got to go brush my teeth now, because
yeah,
I'm a work,
that also happens for me. That also happens.
yeah,
Like I just end up forgetting about everything. So, like there's sometimes that I'm lazy, but there are other times like
yeah,
sometimes at the same day or tomorrow that I just focus, just get this moment of focus. I just spend like many hours, and I even forget about eating. I
yeah,
just that's crazy. Yeah, that,
yeah, man.
that,
Like, the other day, I realized I only had one meal,
yeah,
and my head, like, was going. The next day, my head was, like, going crazy, and I'm like, why do I feel all agitated, right? I felt really agitated because I didn't realize that the day before I'd only had one meal because I worked freaking so much. I just didn't get up to go and eat. And and I was, because, like yourself, I work from home, right? So I just did, and I'm like, the next day going, I feel agitated, man. What the hell's going on? And then I realized, dude, not only did you not eat, but you haven't drunk enough water today either, right? So you're basically dehydrated and lacking food, and that's something that, that's the kind of like the sad part about, downside of working at home, you know, because you don't have to get up and do stuff. You don't have, you don't have to go, hey boss, I got to, what do I do next? Or here's, look at my project. Let me know if I need to change anything, because it's just you, right? And you're your own boss, so you set the pace. And sometimes the detriment of that is that you're not looking after yourself.
yeah. So because of that, it can be quite inconsistent because like sometimes I'll just spend like hours and hours doing like just like you said, and then when I stop, that's the problem for me. When I stop, because I will then sometimes I'll take some hours to go back because I
Yeah,
just end up like taking my phone like Instagram. Then I just keep scrolling down. I then time pass. That's another problem also. That's
yeah,
sometimes that can be really great for me some days because as I said I have like these other projects too, like the comics. I have other two works too. I
mm,
have two other works to do, like for some books. So yeah, every day is like I don't know something like I wake up and I don't really know what will happen to me that day. That's every day is like
yeah.
that for me. So yeah, it's really crazy, and
Well, I
that's
mean, it's the same.
that.
And that's the thing about having multiple projects, right? I mean, like, with me, I'm like, just like yourself, working on, like, we've got 7 teams, 7 books working on right now. I think it's about 7. And so, we've got about 5, 6 people working on these separate pages. And then we've also got Edwin, who's like, artist, who's like coloring, Robot Nation right now, and then he's coloring Templeton straight after, and then he'll be doing the next coloring, right? But the other thing is that each day I'll get a new page from someone, and that forces me to go, right, I got to get that on that project done today, or that project. And I think, with yourself working on several projects, right?
Yeah.
You gotta somehow work out, how to manage yourself, because, like, I mean, you're young, right? This is a time to learn how to time manage and get yourself in a rotation. And the other thing is, like, the sad part, the great thing of technology, it's always a sad part of technology, is that there's too many distractions, right? Like, even like YouTube, like, you can be on there, like, oh, okay, you finish watching one thing, oh, next thing pops up, and now you're watching that thing, and next thing pops up, and you're watching that thing. And that's all, if you're not careful, you're distracted by that. You're like basically going from one thing to the other thing, and then you find, shit,
that's really a
forgot
pain.
I had work to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, I even try to like to come up with some solutions. I mean, like in YouTube. I mean, YouTube also has these shorts. I try. I also trying right now to like trying to turn it off. I heard that if you just pick every shorts video that appears for you in the feed, you just have to put like an not interested. Just put it, just making this, and then somehow it will disappear. I was trying to do that because
Yeah.
like I mean I just noticed like I keep watching these things that like it's worthless. It has no value. I mean like
That's it, man.
yeah, minutes later
Right where
I will
you are.
forget
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, it's just worthless. I'll just forget. I mean like oh look at this cute cat, this cute puppy, but okay yeah, but then what? That's the thing. I just so yeah just keeping me busy and distracted for nothing. That's really a
Well,
problem.
because the whole point of YouTube is there to take your time away from everything else, right? To
Yeah,
watch YouTube, because that's how the algorithm works. So, like you're saying, like, all this will pop up. This is this is our page here, at our homepage on thing, and all of a sudden I noticed all this other stuff would pop up, that just because I clicked on one thing, now I've got everything to do with that thing, and I'm like, but I only saw it once. Why the hell has got all this other stuff? Because they want you to keep watching that, right? They want
yeah,
you to have your attention on there. And that is the downside of technology, as I mentioned, right? Because you can just go from one thing to another thing to one thing, and if you work from home, that's the worst thing to be on,
yeah.
because you know because it's just distraction, and your work suffers. And like, and I think that's probably why, when you look at all these bosses, like big major companies overseas, we're like, oh, you can work from home now, and they're like, nah, don't work from home anymore, come into the office, because they realize their work is suffering, because this is not a healthy thing to have. uh, like, the whole work from home stance, it only works if you are working for yourself, not for someone else.
That's
Like
true.
my brother, right? My brother works on e-commerce for a major company, like multinational company, and so he can order and do that. He's got days, then he's got to go into the office on those other days, because your employer knows that you have to be around other people, because because they can see the figures, but they don't, like, well, you could be just working like 10 minutes and that's you done your job. Yet if you're in the office, you could go and help somebody else, you could go mentor someone, or that you could get mentored, you could go do a course, you could get upskilled. But when you're at home, you're just left on your own. And I think, for me personally, like I say, I've got three screens. This one here is just for podcasting, right? Live streaming, that's all. It's like a little thing about this big. And but because I'm lying down due to my injury, so I have two screens in front of me at the foot of my bed, and so the other screen will be where it's got the YouTube videos or whatever, movies playing. But this is where my main focus is. I can do what I'm doing right now, right, with, as we're talking here, lettering this while something else is playing, so I'm actually working at the same time. However, I noticed myself watching, say a wrestling thing, and then the next wrestling thing comes up. I'm like, 2 hours later, I'm like, did I just spend 2 hours watching, 5 shorts of wrestling matches when I could have been doing something else? And you're like, you don't know how quickly time goes. And I think, you know, employers in the main, in the market are understanding that now, like that that, and the other thing is your work suffers because you're distracted as well. Unless, unless you're a focused person and stuff. And I'm finding myself, it's like I can't have anything else on. And I mentioned this before, I can't have music on and I can't have anything else on when I'm writing at all. Otherwise, I can't focus on the writing. And same thing with the, like alcohol or drugs. I can't do any of that if I'm, if I'm, not that I do that. Even if I have a beer or something, if feel a bit, intoxicated, I don't write because I can't concentrate, you know. So yeah, I mean, like there is a good side to technology, but there is that they constantly, because the more you watch, the more your time is on YouTube or streaming, the more time they get to make money off you, right? It's that
Yeah,
algorithm thing. Like that's all it is. Oh, they watched that show was being watched this much. Now you can advertise on that,
yeah,
and
and
so
like you,
you're giving precious time to somebody else.
yeah, like you said, I also mentioned about working for yourself. Yeah, that's I mean I gotta say like that's I think that's the reason why I can work from home right now because I work for myself. Because
Yeah,
if it was the case like you mentioned for your brother, like working for a company, it would just be a tragedy for me because I already did that once, like working from home
yeah,
for a company, like in the past. Like I already mentioned my previous job that I had. When I worked there, I mean it was at that time of COVID, so I hit this time of
mm,
working from home. And at that time, well, I was really unproductive. Like, I mean,
mm,
just from home, yeah, it's just like you said. So, but right now it's different because uh, my income is not from a fixed salary anymore. Like,
yeah,
I earn from what I work, so I just can't run run away from my job. Like, I just can't like do this thing like because if I don't do that I just not getting paid at all. So
yeah,
yeah, so at the same time it's I mean kind of good for me because as I said I also have some habit to be lazy, so that's a good thing for me because otherwise will be really lazy. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think about not working like fixed for a company like to be a artist because I
yeah.
think that may be a problem for me. So maybe I'll try to stick as a freelancer because of that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, like with freelance and stuff like that, it's pretty cool, right? But you got to have a regular job coming in, something to like what we say in the art world, right? Bread and butter. I like like when you have your, that fixed income there, even if enough to just pay the bill, you can go and work freelance for everything else. And I think this is why, like, you have people like, Jim Lee, right? Who's like now sitting as executive position and he can work whenever he wants and he can do a piece and like boom 35,000 for one of
Yeah,
his works, and people don't understand that that takes time to get there, and not just anybody can demand $35,000 US for a piece of artwork like a cover,
yeah,
because with that, he's got a huge name there, and he can do that. But that's because built on over years and decades, I should say, not just years, of him, getting to that stage. But the other thing is, right, when you have your bread and butter, you have freedom to work on other projects that you're passionate about, and that's something that I've had when I was working as in sales. I would go home and work, like I'd have shift work, like I'd work from Tuesday to Saturday, and then Sunday I'd spend with my missus, and then Monday I'd work on the comic books, right? On the story, on the writing of the scripts, the film scripts that I'm writing, right? And then back to work, Monday to Tuesday to Saturday again, um, and that sort of allowed me to go and buy whatever I wanted, but also it just gave me a regular work time. And so now that I'm like, I know I have a workaholic habit, but also with that, you can also become very drained if you're constantly working. So on the other, and then the other side of the technology is that you can get a lot of, downtime by watching YouTube and by watching, anime or some music shorts or whatever, concerts. Uh, and I think, it's just trying to figure out a balance, especially if you're working from home.
Yeah, I mean, I try to use the my the as I mentioned before, I was I don't remember if I already mentioned that during the live stream, but I started hitting the gym, and
Right.
yeah, and I trying to use that to balance a bit some of my routine because every
Mm.
day that I go there, I mean, it's not like every day, like, but I mean, like 3 days a week. I'll
Yeah.
always go in the morning. You know, I, I, I try to use that like as a as a foundation to build my routine. I mean,
Mm.
I still didn't really get there because I don't know if it's about me, but I don't know it's some other problem. But I
Well,
it's still quite hard for me to like to follow a routine like a
right.
list, because there are some people that can do that, like just do a list, like I'll do this and then I'll do that and
Yeah.
stuff and etc. But I can't do with it. I mean, I already tried, but I can follow. I mean, I started they look at the list. I'll be like, nah, I don't want to do that right now. I want to do that. I just
Yeah.
keeping mixed up. Yeah, it just doesn't work for me. So I try to balance my routine just from the feeling. I don't know if I say it like that, but I mean, it's not like I just lazing around. Just I just try to pick it up. What work I will do first, and yeah, and I'll just go with the field. Or if
Well,
the
well, they say like it takes about I think it's 7 days or a month to get into a routine, right? So if
yeah
you it's like repetition, right? If you repeat same thing, a schedule, whatever you're doing every for 7 days in a row, and you keep doing that or 7 times, your body gets used to it, so it becomes like muscle memory, right?
yeah
And I'm trying to do the same thing with like trying to get some exercises in for my arms because they constantly start getting painful if I'm not, because all I'm doing most of the time is just going like this with the mouse, right? Clicking
yeah
because like as you saw, right? That's all I'm friggin' doing was lettering. And so my hands started getting clamped up and they get all sore. And
yeah
then so what I decided to do is like, you know what? I got a rubber band stretchy thing, whatever they call it, and then I also have a bass, right? I'll just lie in bass, play bass in bed, lying on my back, right? Having the bass lying on my chest, and I'm like, and that sort of gives it, a bit of, de-stresses the hand. But that's also like when I was a teenager, like I used to, a gym and everything. We had like a friend down the road who I would go to his home gym, and I'd bodybuilding stuff and like lift weights and be really stocky. But there's a routine, like with everything, like sitting down now. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work now. Now I'm going to go and do this. And I think this is like we're talking about downside of technology is that it it's too many distractions. Like I'll forget what I'm doing sometimes. I'll go in the kitchen, I've forgotten what I've done, and then I'll go back. Oh shit! I was supposed to post this out, or I'm supposed to be working on this because while I'm there, I'm listening to music, right? Or while I'm doing dishes, there's something playing on the YouTube, and I think that
yeah
is what that kind of like can be detrimental as well to your
yeah. That's
creativity.
about the dopamine, right? I mean,
That's it.
I
Yeah,
even try to work it out my routine like that because the dopamine is like a reward system, like so.
yeah,
Sometimes when I think about I wanna do like read this book or see this anime or play this game, I try to I try to trick my mind sometimes, like do this work first. If you do this, then you can do that.
Yeah,
Just fun stuff, like just like a reward. So sometimes I try to do that so I
yeah.
can more motivate myself. So yeah, that's also this.
So what we do, I mean, for those who are just joining it, what we're looking at here is I'm lettering over, Louise's artwork here, his inked, pencil. Sorry, I'll show you what we got here. So you know, this is the pencils, and so we basically went through and planned out 2 issues altogether because of the characters that needed to be worked out, firsthand. And so now, Louise basically then, of course, takes this and does pencils over the roughs, storyboard of the panels, as you can see here. And then, once that's done, you got the finished inks, and then, of course, I got to go and do the lettering and stuff. So, Luis is from Brazil. He also recently worked on, lettering Robot Nation into Portuguese. And so
Yeah,
we are talking about earlier about, stuff, like the squiggles and so on, the accents that the language has, which I found that the Spanish didn't have that. However, in the Portuguese, there's a lot of that. And
yeah,
so it was interesting working between the two languages for Robot Nation, because we're going to be releasing this. And as we've already put out as a Kickstarter, it kind of died, right? And so we're going to do a re-release of it with less covers and less, options. And so there'll be, hopefully people back that. And then on top of that, we do have our other comic that we're going to be putting out to Kickstarter soon. I'm sorry, Indiegogo soon, which is um, Incredible. And so Incredible is going to go out to um, Indiegogo with only 3 covers, with this new cover for Indiegogo, especially for Indiegogo, with a kind of like interior. We'll have some other new stuff in it that's different to what we put out for Kickstarter last year. And so this is just to introduce ourselves and to let come back, probably with more sales as well, hopefully, and get more audience on this comic book about this. This is an all ages comic book about superhero, right? A female superhero from New Zealand, right? And so this is about there's more to it, but we do have a blurb here, right? So there's like new superhero from New Zealand takes to the sky over London, England. And so that's the lady behind me here. Uh, you know, that a high school girls painted for us as part of a comic book convention that we had the last 5 years. And so, we've got all the artwork, comic book artwork, everything's done, everything's colored, everything's lettered. All that's left with this project is to take it to Indiegogo and offer some, new stuff like, hey, get your name in the book, or maybe if somebody wants to advertise their own comic book in it, maybe they can do that, and we'll offer that as well. Remember, this is like an all ages comic book, so we're not just going to let anybody put their little advert for their comic book in it. It's got to be all age, general audience. And so this is a superhero comic book with a bit of science twist to it, and of course, fantasy with all this stuff about a young Kiwi, and you'll find out a lot more about her as you read the comic book. It's a 6-issue series that we're putting out called The Gathering of the Five. It's the first issue, and she's like, it's kind of like the backdrop to everything we're doing at Plunge Universe. And the other thing is that Plunge Universe goes from being all ages to teen plus to mature to adult. So there's like the reason for that is that when you come in, I want to read as a child, then I want to read as a teenager, and then I want to read as another book that's more catered to my age, right? And so that's the idea of like all these different characters. So we got vigilantes that are like mature, like teen plus. Then you've got like stuff like Templeton, which is like adult, right? Supernatural horror. And then you've also got stuff like Tortoise, right? That's part of the Plunge universe, but it's like a slice of life manga, right? And so that's a totally new kind of stuff we're doing with that. So you get, so it's like, we're like our own version of what a Marvel, an indie company is, with all this universal worlds that are built on that. And not only that, we have an isekai story as well, which is like, let me see if I've got a page up here, and I'll show you guys. So there is this one we're working on at the moment, and it is Fantastical Romy, right? So this is a fantasy world called Zealandia, based on the map and the structure of New Zealand. And so in this world, there's beast man, there's demons, there is like fairies, there is elves, knights, and sword and sorcery. So with this, we're working with different artists around the world, and to build this ever-growing Plunge universe of worlds, right? And so hopefully, you guys will support us in this project, and and also, with what we're doing with Howler here, with Louise on his book, his artwork on this book. Let me just see, we've got the cover here somewhere. Let's go back to this one. And so, there are several projects upcoming. Incredible, it's already been released. And then, of course, we have the covers. But, we do have some awesome, skilled artists. Like, as you can see, like, we've got some amazing talent in our team who are working with us to bring this all together. This is Tomas's work, putting a note there saying, like constantly, like, working with our team, just saying, okay, this is what we need to do here or something. So this is from, I think the second page from Tortoise manga, and so as you can see here, there's a, father-daughter thing going on here, and walking on the beach in Fiji, and so just and it's kind of like told like a diary story.
It's a much, yeah, no, it's just a much different art style from the other two, right?
Yeah,
Really different.
and
That's
yeah,
interesting.
you even like this, right? So this is a sci-fi book, and the art style is different there, and this is what I love about working with different artists, because they bring their own styles to it, to the story. And so I don't, I really love, trying to put together the artist style with a story that's that I'm writing, so I felt like Howler deserved a more realistic art style. With Robot Nation, I felt like it deserved a bit more European art style, because I love that just the style of the European artists that they've been brought up to, the ink work or the pencil work. And so on top of that, when you've got manga, there is because it's more centered towards kind of like a female characters. So having something like manga, which is a bit more cutesy and like in line work and style, people tend to especially females tend to gravitate towards manga because of the kind of cute looking characters and stuff. And I felt like this is the perfect one for Tomas to work on. And the other thing is, like, with each story that we're telling here in this, with our comics, there's, we have the talent of the artists that are working on them, right? That are bringing this to pass. Like, it's just freaking, every time I see a page or update or, something new that's coming up, I'm just like, man, I just can't wait to, talk about it, because I just, it's just great to see the work that's been put into each page, right? And you can see here, like, excuse me. Oh, I want, like, this one here, like I wanted to kind of like put in this whole idea, like a lot of people uh, don't understand the connection with head injuries and stuff. So I thought, hey, what if I do a little bit about concussions, right? And how is that going to work with him later? Because he just got his head smashed into friggin', into the Tasil. And so how what will there be, excuse me, will there be recurring effects of that for him? As we know, concussions, can have long-term effects. And so that's kind of like, well, that, deciding whether that will play out in the story later on or what goes on with him. And, because there's stress involved with head injuries and stuff. And what will his stress levels be later, compared to when he faces situations. And it's a gradual thing. It won't be instantaneously, basically, because, lashes out. But how will that affect him as being who he is later, And I think this is the great thing about, creativity, is that you can just put in little, foreshadowings and stuff like this, and you go, well, what was the freaking reason was that for? But then you go, oh, that's because of this later on, right? When you're reading, you go, right, I can see why, But I do love these, this page here, man. This is one of my favorite pages because, this is very, very kind of like, I was going to say simplistic, but it really isn't. But it's kind of like very, it's there's not a right word I can use to describe it, but there's a sequence of events that happens that everybody has seen or heard happen, right? Someone getting beaten up, but you look at the way these figures are like are shown, and you can see how like let me get to the larger size of that. You can, the fact that they're looking up like that. I mean, looking down on that's a powerful shot, right? And I love this one for that reason, because that looking down and you're looking up, man, because you can see here, right? He's looking up. I mean, like he's got his eyes closed, but he's down, and then he's down again on that one, but then he's looking. It's just like the pose of that is perfect.
Yeah, I happy to hear that because I also want to ask what's your besides that one, what's your favorite page that I have already made so far?
Oh, actually, let me go down here. So, excuse me. Let me get some water on here.
Yeah, it's fine.
So, no, it still doesn't like it. We're talking non-stop for an hour, so it's like,
Yeah, too much
there's,
talking.
so yeah. So I love the cars, man. I really love the cars, but this was my favorite page, right? That
Yeah,
is my favorite page because it's just so, you know, it's just the way it's set up. Like this, everything is perfect, but the way this page just flows, you know, it's just there's so many different impressions that I can hear, right? Like, I mean, expressions, say, like, look at his face is twisted up by the punch, then he's grimacing, and then, like, that connection to the concrete, and you're seeing I don't, you don't often see something like this, a cross section of a skull like this, and I don't know, it's not something you see in a superhero comic book, right? Or something like that people are used to reading all the time. And so this is what makes this book different to anything like that. It gives you a bit of realism, you know. But also with this, you find that, like, there's a bit of thing, situation going between these two and why it's happening. But you're kind of getting a foreshadowing of what's going to come up. And just the fact that these three are looking down, nonchalantly at someone they've just knocked out, and without realizing that could have long-term effects, and I think this is my favorite page, man. Like, there's so many, out of all of them, because there's so many awesome pages. We worked so hard on the time we spent on this one was crazy, right?
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I mean, it's
Yeah,
also the first page, so yeah, it's also
yeah,
important to define the art style, the tone, everything. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But it was
I
like we had.
remember.
I just yeah, it was just like the amount of time we spent on that was like at least worthy of 3-4 pages because we're
Yeah,
trying to figure out like I mean trying to give it a natural, realistic look, right? The
yeah,
fence, what would the fence be like behind, and what would the fence be like over here, and
yeah,
so on, right? And,
yeah,
and just trying to make sure it falls in
yeah,
you know, in a way that really is, like you said, it's the first page. You're trying to create an impression and make show people that this is the tone of the book, right? And and you don't really. It's like it's a split. It's a full page, so you're trying to create an impact straight away. But also this is it's kind of like a realistic work. So there's not too many like even though it's fantasy and there's a lot of fantasy creatures in it. Uh, the art is more realism, right? Realistic characters and stuff. And so you kind of like want to set the tone that this isn't some sort of like you know um, cartoonish characters. They're actually, or animated characters. They're actually real people, and we're already like establishing that with the way everything on this page is set up, right? Where you've got like all the cars there that look real. They're not some sort of like, uh, fantasy sci-fi cars that fly or something like that, or they look like really different, futuristic thing. So because you're putting, like a GT, right? Is it a GT? I always forget. Um, you
the
know,
car, you mean?
you put a Mustang in there, people know it's a real car and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You said before about the cars. I mean, when we were talking about the project, all the things, each each stuff, you know. I noticed about there is some citation to the cars,
Mm,
mostly about the cars from museums. So
mm,
I took notice of that. Like, okay, it has some quite impact. It has some importance. So I need to give a special attention to it. So every time I draw the cars, mostly the the protagonist car, I
yeah,
always try to make a special attention. Like I see the reference for the Mustang uh, every time. So yeah,
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing.
It's really like because like vehicles like um one thing with that sorry let me get back to that one here. This is probably the best one. I mean for showing right now. So the thing about this story is like um one of the characters had lived a long time. So, how does he travel around? So the vehicle becomes a very important part of that. And I wanted, like we're saying, like wanted to make the car a very important part, like a third, kind of like a third main character, right? A third character in the comic book, because we spent, there's going to be a lot of time spent in the car in this, because there's a lot of traveling. It's almost like a road movie, you know, because there's the amount of time to spend in the car traveling is, probably a third of the book because, but a lot of things go on and affects because, you know, it's one thing, a lot of people, I mean, everybody knows, right? A lot of, young people spend a lot of time in their cars, right? With their girlfriend, with their friends, with their mates, listening to music, traveling to somewhere, going to a concert, going to the movies. And so I wanted to make sure that for him, Isis as a young 22-year-old, right? He, has that as well, because if you just go, oh no, he's got a motorbike, but that means that he can't take his girlfriend. And what? But if he can take his girlfriend, but then her mother will go, I don't want you with that boy on the because you could get an accident on the motorbike, right? Parents have that, so you don't because if you put a motorbike in, that will be you got to tell that story. However, it's a car. Everybody's okay with a car and the safety of a car stuff. So Um, as we finish off here, it's an hour and a half. Did you want to say anything else, man? And then we'll finish off.
Well, I just what we talk about the place right now. I really I really like listening the opinions of other people about my own art because uh, I mean it's something that happens with I think with every artist. Like
Mm,
you're really critical about your own
yeah.
work because I mean when you talk about what was your favorite page, I
Mm,
find it funny because that page specific that you choose, I didn't really like it for myself.
all right.
That that's a reason because it's not about the like you said the sequence the flow. I mean it's really good the flow
Mm,
and etc. Like you said but that's also part because of the writer that's
yeah.
not because of me. So, but the reason I don't really like that page and some others like that much but is because I see these drawings a lot
Mm,
different from the other people. That's happened with
right.
every artist, everyone. It's also probably happened with the writers too, with their own writing. So
Mm,
when I look at this page, I look in a totally different way. Like I see all the mistakes, my
yeah.
the problems. Like so, I still see some things that I should be fixing, but I don't really have the time. So I
Yeah.
just keep me really just keep bugging me out. That's the problem
Well,
with my
the
own
the
drawing.
other thing is right. Like if you like spend way too much time on one page, that means you're not going to be able to spend time on the other pages, and so and then there's a delay thing, and that's the other thing about like structured time schedules, right? Okay, I only have this much time to spend on that page. Now I need to go to that page. Now I go to that page. But later, when everything is finished, and then you can go across and go, okay, now we've got time, right?
Yeah,
So one thing, like what happens then is like, okay, I'm lettering then, right? And so well, while I'm lettering, you can do whatever the change to the page, and or while a guy's, he's coloring the first page. Now you got time to fix up anything else, right, on second page. And so for me, that's how I look at it with anything with time schedule. It's like, okay, um, today I'm gonna, I need to work on this because that new page needs to go to, that's, I know that like I need to get Zolandia issue 2 done because I know that uh, Joachim is finishing issue 1 or the artwork on that. So I got to make sure the script is there. And so same thing like that. Like even with like with this one here with Tomas, right? Tomas. I said to Tomas, go, go finish off a whole bunch of like issue 2, and now that you've got the characters down pat, go back and work on issue 1, you know, and now he knows how the characters look. Now he's got everything set, and he's okay. And the same thing with us, right? When we went across, we went through, and what we did was we went through 2 issues, right? We set up like two issues. We planned it all out and said, okay, these are the characters that will be part of this later. So now you know where you're going with this, and breaking this up into into the 2 issues, and how the story's going to flow. And for me as well, it gives me an idea of like um, how I should be telling the story and where it goes. Do I want the story to be like boom, 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 or do I want to slowly build the story up and create this family unit, and then slowly bring in the next action scene, and then kind of like um, telling a story in a different way compared to the other stories, right? Because this is a longer tale. It's not a very it's not like a 3 issues or 4 issue story. This is like a 12 issue story, and so broken into four 4 issue arcs. And so that means that with that we can go in and slow the pace down a bit, but still build up the characters as well, and everything sort of flows a bit better, even though it feels like it's slow. there are, a lot of information being shared, from page to page, and you get to, you get to meet the characters and decide that are these characters something that you can, that you're going to enjoy reading about. Because even, I think one of the greatest things about working on a longer form story, it's like a binge, like, like when they make a 2 hour movie and they try to rush it and everything's like, and then you go again, kind of was, okay, it had everything, but still felt boring. But then you sit down and watch an 8 episode or 6 episode series, you're like, whoa, it was so cool. I got into the character. I can understand why that happened there. I can understand why that happened there. And I think this is why also manga works as well, because people can read a long form story in one issue, right, in one volume. And this is kind of the idea of here is like, let's slowly, but there was a lot of quick things happening, but introduce the people to it, into this world of Howler, because there's a lot of crazy things will happen, and there's a lot of crazy things do happen, but you need to know why it's happening. Who are these people? If you don't love these people, why would you read the rest of the story, right?
Yeah, that's true. And talking about Howler, also, I, to be honest, I quite excited to reach that stage that we're going to see the past. I really want to draw that. I'm really
Yeah,
excited for it.
yeah, man. That's a great thing about that, right? The part, like, there's some crazy stuff. And that's the thing about that, right? Like, that's what, when we worked at two issues at the same time, planning that out, like, that's why I felt like we needed to get that issue, planned out, because it was like, I can't wait to get there,
Yeah,
talking about the conclave, the crazy people in the conclave, all the stuff that's happened. But one of the crazy things, like, thanks to Iwa Kim, who's working on Fantastical Romy, he goes, hey, what, have you thought about what would happen if we had one, a character from that world be in this world? Because Romy's all, Fantastical Romy's all, and Solander's all about people going from our world to that world. And so what if, like, there was a character in this world? So we actually have a character in this world that is from that world, and that's how that ties into this world, into the Plunge universe in this world. So it's going to be interesting to, like you said, issue, the next issue is going to be, yeah, there's so many, it's like just full of creatures left, right, and center. And yeah, it's like, having seen the artwork from that, like, I mean, like the thumbnails are so rough pencils. It's just, yeah, I'm so excited, man.
yeah. There is going to be some cool shots to draw there. That's one of the reasons to, like, there's some characters, some some places to draw with some shots that will be
Yeah,
there that I think so will be really cool to do. I mean, like, I mention a specific character I like by name, or I can't.
yeah. Which one are you thinking about?
Or the Antonio.
Right. So,
Yeah,
hold on. We just had Antonio there. So Antonio's, you can mention Antonio, but I won't like tell him about the background. But Antonio's
yeah, yeah.
interesting. So go for it, mate.
Yeah. I will talk about him because I like the appearance, the design.
Right.
The I kind of liked it some way. So yeah, I'm also excited to draw him. So
So let me bring up Antonio. His character, where are we? Howler. Um, character references. Oh no, sorry, that's the wrong thing. Script. Um, chapter 1. Pencils, inks. Okay, I'm on chapter 1. I should be on chapter. Promos. Is that one? So that's the Duchess. There's the other three. What is Antonio? Ah, here we go. Sure. Should just went in there. Right. So, yeah. There we go. That's Antonio, right?
Yeah, that's it. I think he is going to be a interesting character to draw. You know, I kind of like the. I mean, it's not always that I just talk about something that I did myself like that, but I kind of like doing this character. I mean, it's quite difficult because it's many details like from the
Mm.
clothing, so it's quite hard. Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's fun to draw him, and not
Well,
only him, huh?
sorry, carry
Huh?
on.
I mean, not only him, but also Alessia from the past. I think it's also going to be interesting drawing her and her
Yeah.
uh, clothing from that time. So yeah,
Yes. I mean, you've got the Duchess as well, right? So let me where's the Duchess here? Oh, here we go. Here's the Duchess. So, you know, it's like the one thing about this is like because we're going back to like about was it like 1700 or yeah, I think it's about 1700 Italy, right? And so
yeah,
there's a lot of research gone into the costume designs as well. And I just like, that's why that's what, you see this modern, like in issue one and in issue two, you see freaking Italy, you know, and 200 years or something in the past. And you kind of go, well, what's that got to do with issue one? And that's the thing about the story. Like there's so much going on and, it's like a 200-year-old story. And why is it a 200-year-old story? And then you go, why do you have all these weird looking characters in it? And that's what I love about this. It's like being able to, like you said, the costume design, the way people look, the carriages, how they travel, right? And then what they're up to. And yeah, man, I'm really excited, right? And this is what I mean. Like, so if when if you stress out over one page, you're it's slowing you from moving to the next page and carrying on to the next thing. And but the thing is that once you've got issue one done, then you can always correct whatever mistakes later. And because the problem is like even with me, right? I don't go and edit until I've got it all written down. Otherwise, I'm breaking my flow. And like I was writing Zelandia issue two, right? And I had like about 3 pages. That was too much on issue two. So I just cut it, copy pasted onto issue three and just left it there and just carried on. Like, yeah, you just sit there and I'm just going to carry on. And, because otherwise I'll be like, okay, now I got to fix that. I got to fix that. I got to fix that. And it's like, no, just go over there. And this is the cool thing here is like, getting to be and getting to see, it's all part of the game, right? It's all part of like working on a comic book. And the thing is, if you get to the middle, that's the hardest part because then you go, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that, but just forget that and just carry on, you know. But thank you,
that's
man.
true.
Like, you're doing amazing work on this. Really, really, Luis. Like, seriously, I love these characters. And like you said, issue two is going to be, looks great. And then I'm waiting for the issue end of issue one. When those two guys show up, and like waiting for these creatures, what they look like. Because I've seen
Yes,
issue, yeah, I've seen
yes.
issue two creatures.
You just reminded me of this right now. I also quite, I know, I don't know, curious about how I'll manage that, how I'll draw it. I do want to do something nice there. Yeah,
Right.
I also want to reach this. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because, like, I mean, like, we've got a fight scene, right? And so in a restaurant, and so I've been watching fight scenes in a restaurant, trying to figure out what we can use in there, what how to use it in our own fight scene, and because we're in a pizzeria, what's in a pizzeria, right? And how is it all going to move around in there? And one of the scenes we saw was from that new movie about like some assassin girl and like really tiny and trying to be like a superpowered little real people person, right? And but it worked for what we're doing with our story because there is because Alicia is has special abilities, right? Let's just say that. And so with that, she's able to do what that person shouldn't have been able to do in that movie, right? And it's just I'm just waiting to see this fight scene because we started with the fight scene and we just saw Isis get his ass handed to him, as they say, and now we get to see Alicia do her thing, and it'll be interesting to watch
Yeah,
these things I've written in my head and seen in my head come to pass through your artwork on the paper, right? Like we was watching, this character here, the Duchess, being drawn and everything. Like, she didn't exist until she existed on paper, drawn up.
yeah, yeah. I do hope I can do a good job of that, like converting from the thoughts to the paper. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's doing. I mean, it looks great, bro. I really mean that because, like,
yeah,
otherwise I'll be going, okay, change this, change that, because these characters that look great. That's one thing I love about them. They look real. They look natural. Even with issue 2 with the costumes and stuff, it looks real and it looks natural because we've been like sharing like reference images and stuff. Okay, this is what they dressed like. This is what they were like. This is what the houses look like, and so on. A lot of research, because it's not, it's trying to ground the story in realism, and the place that we base it in is actually real. It exists, but it's a fantasy story based in that, but still a real place. So, with that, thank you for Louise, for your time today. And I better let you. It's almost 2 hours, so I'll let you get back to what you're doing.
yeah,
Um, thank you, man. I really appreciate working on this, and whatever
yeah,
just
yeah. I
carry on.
mean,
You know,
yeah. I'll try to just some final words. I mean, even though it's just almost 2 hours, I really enjoyed this meeting. I mean, because today earlier was quite stressful for me. Like having to, it wasn't even about drawing. It's just about having to negotiate a contract earlier today.
right?
So, and the negotiations almost broke down. So yes, it was quite
Yeah,
stressful. So having this talk right now just about comics and art and stuff. So
yeah.
it's been quite good doing this right now. Just to sleep better because
Awesome, man.
it's almost sleep time for me right now.
Cool. Thank
So
you,
yeah,
man. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Wherever you are, like I always say, be well. Hope you have a good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. I mean, for me, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Um, and like I always say, you've got a loved one close by, give them a hug and a kiss. Let them know that you care. And especially if you've got a male in the house, let them know that you appreciate it, right? If you've got a son, husband, boyfriend, whatever, because males need that sort of like ego boost to say, hey, you're doing fine, thank you for helping or doing that, because the rate of suicide amongst males is way high, and that shouldn't be so, especially in the modern age that we live in, right? So however you want to show your love or concern to someone, you got internet, you got why social media is there all the time. So send them a message, and like wherever you are, be well and have a good day, and we'll see you next time. And to to Louise, thank you, man, for giving up your time to just come in, hang out, and talk about this project, and also about yourself, right? About the comic book history and inspirations, especially Sean Gordon Murphy, with his artwork,
yeah,
and so inspirations and stuff. So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. I also want to thank you also about everything, the opportunity, and also about the talking about the art. I mean, I'm happy to hear that what you just said. So yeah, yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome, man. All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time. Kakiteano.